The spark of rebellion. The stellar concordance chamber hummed with tension, its crystalline walls reflecting the nervous energy of 1,000 alien representatives. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the periphery, her dark eyes scanning the room with a mixture of contempt and calculation. She was the lead strategist for the Human Autonomy Initiative, a position that made her both a pariah and a beacon of hope for humanity. Across the circular chamber, Ambassador Krulax of the Zorian Collective was mid-tirade. His iridescent tentacles writhed with agitation, translating his species' complex emotional language into a visual display of pure frustration. Humanity continues to violate the interstellar resource allocation protocols, he declared, his universal translator rendering his words in crisp, clinical tones. Elena allowed herself a slight smile. Protocols, such a sanitized word for systematic oppression. The current system was nothing more than an elaborate mechanism of control. For generations, the stellar concordance had maintained a stranglehold on technological and resource development, with humans relegated to the most marginal of galactic territories. Entire human colonies had been relocated, stripped of terraforming investments, their populations forced into ever-shrinking zones of permitted habitation. The latest resource redistribution plan, Krulax continued, demonstrates humanity's continued inability to integrate responsibly into the galactic community. Responsible integration. Elena had heard that phrase 1,000 times. It was code for subjugation. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Chen, the chief of Advanced Propulsion Research, leaned in close. "They have no idea," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "The project is nearly complete." The project was humanity's secret weapon, a technological breakthrough that would change everything. Years of quiet development, of seemingly acquiescent diplomacy, had been nothing more than an elaborate cover for something far more significant. The Concordance believed they understood humanity. They saw a species young and impetuous, prone to emotional outbursts, technologically limited. What they failed to recognize was humanity's most potent characteristic: adaptability. Elena remembered the stories her grandmother told her about Earth's history, how humans had survived ice ages, world wars, pandemics, climate catastrophes. Each challenge had been met not with brute force, but with innovation, collaboration, and an uncanny ability to transform limitations into opportunities. The current session was typical. Another hearing, another set of restrictions, another opportunity to chip away at human sovereignty. Ambassador Krulax was presenting a new set of resource quotas. Mineral extraction from human-controlled systems would be reduced by another 35%. Critical research stones would be further limited. Agricultural colonies would face stricter migration controls. Each regulation was another chain, another method of control. Dr. Rodriguez's communication device, a device carefully designed to appear primitive to alien sensors, vibrated softly. A message from their hidden network. The final preparations were complete. The timing would be perfect. The Concordance was about to learn that humanity was not a species to be managed, but a force to be reckoned with. As Krulax droned on about responsible galactic citizenship, Elena caught the eye of Captain Aisha Queasy, head of the Terran Defense Initiative. A nearly imperceptible nod passed between them. The pieces were in place. Technological breakthrough. The Chimera Research Facility was humanity's best-kept secret, nestled deep within the asteroid belt of the Sol 9 system. Here, beneath layers of quantum camouflage and gravitational distortion fields, Dr. Marcus Chen stood before the culmination of decades of clandestine research. Quantum Resonance Adaptive Network, he muttered, running his hand along the sleek, seemingly impossible device. Curaen was more than just a technological marvel. It was humanity's insurance policy. Captain Aisha Queasy watched from a reinforced observation deck, her military-trained eyes scanning every detail. "Explain it to me again, Marcus," she demanded, her tone a blend of scientific curiosity and strategic assessment. Chen smiled. The device before them looked deceptively simple, a crystalline core surrounded by intricate neural network interfaces that seemed to shimmer and change with each passing moment. It's adaptive technology taken to its absolute limit, he explained. Traditional alien sensor technologies work on fixed detection parameters. They expect certain energy signatures, certain material responses. QRAN doesn't just adapt, it predicts and manipulates those very expectations. The implications were revolutionary. Every sensor system developed by the Stellar Concordance would be rendered obsolete in an instant. Deep within the facility, teams of engineers and scientists worked with a quiet intensity. These were not just researchers, they were humanity's last hope. Generations of suppressed potential, of stolen opportunities, had culminated in this moment. Elena Rodriguez entered the facility, her presence immediately commanding attention. "Status report," she demanded. Dr. Chen pulled up a holographic display. Lines of complex data danced across the projection. Quantum entanglement matrices, adaptive algorithm projections, energy transformation models. "We're ready for the first full-scale test," he announced. Aisha leaned forward, her fingers tracing the holographic data. "The Concordance has no idea what's coming," she muttered. The technology before them represented more than a military advantage. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would no longer accept the limitations imposed by alien bureaucracies. QRAN worked on a principle the Concordance could never comprehend. It didn't just respond to technological challenges. It anticipated them. Every sensor system, every communication network, every defensive mechanism could be subtly manipulated, predicted, and ultimately rendered ineffective. "The network is more than a technology," Chen explained to Elena. "It's a living system. It learns, adapts, and evolves faster than any artificial intelligence ever created. We've essentially developed a technological organism that can outsmart entire planetary defense systems." Elena's eyes gleamed with a mixture of scientific appreciation and strategic vision. "And the Concordance believes we're still struggling with basic quantum communication protocols," she said, a hint of sardonic humor in her voice. The facility was a testament to humanity's true nature, innovative, resilient, capable of turning decades of oppression into a weapon of unprecedented sophistication. Outside the facility, the asteroid belt seemed peaceful. Massive sensor jamming fields ensured that no alien probe, no matter how advanced, could penetrate their defenses. Humanity had been preparing, watching, waiting. "Full system test initiated," a computer voice announced. The QRAN core began to pulse, not with light, but with something more fundamental. Reality itself seemed to shimmer around the device, potential and possibility dancing at the edges of perception. This was more than a technological breakthrough. This was humanity's declaration of independence. The first strike. The Concordance orbital defense platform Zenith 7 was considered the most impregnable fortress in known space. Spanning nearly 10 kilometers, its advanced sensor arrays and multi-layered energy shields had repelled every conceivable threat for over a century. Its commanders believed it was invincible. They were wrong. Captain Aisha Queasy sat in the command center of the HMS Prometheus, a vessel that appeared to be nothing more than an outdated human diplomatic transport. Her fingers moved with surgical precision across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe and shift with each touch. QRAN activation sequence initiated. Dr. Marcus Chen's voice came through the comm system. Quantum resonance at 98% synchronization. The first phase of their plan was elegantly simple and utterly undetectable. Millions of microscopic quantum entanglement nodes, deployed over the past decade through seemingly innocent diplomatic missions, had been quietly integrated into the Concordance's most secure systems. These weren't traditional infiltration methods. They were something far more sophisticated. Adaptive intelligence vectors that could rewrite the very perception of reality for any scanning system. "Target locked," Aisha announced, her voice calm and steady. On the massive view screen, the Zenith 7 station continued its routine patrol, completely unaware of the impending transformation. The QRAN system didn't just hack or infiltrate. It rewrote the fundamental rules of technological interaction. Sensor arrays would see exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Defense systems would respond to threats that didn't exist, while remaining blind to the actual intervention. Quantum cascade initiated, Chen reported. Nothing appeared to happen. And that was precisely the point. Deep within the Zenith 7's most secure communication hub, reality began to subtly shift. Defensive protocols began to reconfigure themselves. Automated systems started responding to phantom threats, redirecting critical resources with mathematical precision. Elena Rodriguez watched from the secondary command center, her fingers tracing the holographic data streams. Complete system neutralization in 3, 2, 1. The Zenith 7 went dark. Not with an explosion, not with a dramatic electrical failure, but with a complete and total systemic shutdown that would appear, to any external observer, as a routine maintenance cycle. Status? Aisha asked. Marcus's response was clinical. Total control. Zero external detection. The Concordants won't even realize we've neutralized their most critical defense platform until it's too late. This was more than a military strike. It was a surgical demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. They weren't just fighting back. They were rewriting the rules of engagement. The strategic implications were profound. The Zenith 7 was the primary defense hub for an entire sector. Its neutralization created a vulnerability that could be exploited in countless ways. Supply lines could be redirected. Communication networks could be compromised. Entire military strategies could be dismantled without firing a single conventional weapon. Prepare the next phase, Elena commanded. Humanity had been patient. Humanity had prepared. And now, humanity would show the Concordants the true meaning of technological superiority. Fractured alliances. The Concordance High Council chamber erupted in chaos. Holographic displays flickered with conflicting data, each representation more alarming than the last. Ambassador Krulax of the Zorian Collective stood trembling, his iridescent tendrils coiling and uncoiling in a display of profound agitation. Impossible, muttered Vartok, the ancient crystalline representative, his silicon-based form fracturing slightly at the edges, a clear sign of extreme stress. Humans cannot have neutralized the Zenith 7. It's technologically inconceivable. But the data was irrefutable. The most secure defense platform in the known galaxy had been rendered completely inert, with no apparent point of entry, no energy signatures, no traditional markers of an attack. It was as if the platform had simply decided to shut down. Diplomatic channels immediately fractured. The Dream Confederacy saw an opportunity. Always opportunistic, they began quietly repositioning their military assets, sensing weakness in the Concordance's defensive line. Their ambassador, a multi-limbed creature with eyes that seemed to calculate potential profit with each blink, saw humanity's action as a potential opening for their own expansionist goals. "We must retaliate," demanded Krulax, his translation matrix barely containing his fury. Immediate punitive actions against human colonies. Total resource embargo. Complete communication blackout. But the other council members were no longer listening with unified purpose. The quantum resonance adaptive network had done more than neutralize a defense platform. It had exposed the fundamental fragility of the Concordance's political structure. On the human side, Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding drama through carefully constructed intelligence feeds. Each reaction, each diplomatic misstep had been anticipated. The QRAN technology wasn't just a defensive tool, it was a scalpel that could dissect complex political ecosystems. Dr. Marcus Chen analyzed the communication patterns. "Look," he said to Captain Aisha Queasy, "they're fracturing exactly as we predicted. The Dreen are repositioning. The Zorian Collective is pushing for immediate retaliation. The crystalline representatives are more concerned with technological understanding than military action." Aisha's lips curved into a slight smile. "Divide and conquer. not through traditional warfare, but through technological superiority and strategic information manipulation. The most brilliant aspect of humanity's strategy was its subtlety. They hadn't destroyed anything. They had simply rearranged possibilities. On distant human colonies, preparations continued. Research facilities that had appeared marginalized and technologically limited now hummed with a different energy. Supply lines that seemed random now revealed themselves as carefully constructed networks of potential and preparedness. Ambassador Krulax continued his tirade, demanding immediate action. But the more he spoke, the more transparent the Concordance's weaknesses became. His desperation was a telling sign. The system they had maintained for centuries was built on an illusion of invulnerability. "They will respond," Alina said quietly to her team. "But their response will be exactly what we want them to do." The first move had been made, and humanity was several steps ahead, playing a game the Concordance didn't even realize was happening. The breaking point. The Concordance's retaliatory fleet emerged from quantum slip space like a swarm of metallic locusts. 12,000 vessels, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to nimble interceptors, converged on the human colony of New Horizon, a strategically positioned settlement that the alien Confederation believed would be the perfect target for their show of force. Captain Aisha Queasy watched the incoming fleet on the holographic display aboard the HMS Prometheus. Her team remained unnervingly calm, a testament to years of preparation and the confidence born of their technological breakthrough. "Incoming transmission from Concordance Central Command," announced Lieutenant Rage of Meta, his fingers dancing across the quantum communication interface. "They're demanding immediate surrender." Alina Rodriguez stepped forward, her presence filling the command center. "Broadcast their message," she ordered. The alien communication crackled to life. Ambassador Krulax's voice dripped with contempt. "Human colony of New Horizon, you will surrender all territorial claims. All research facilities will be dismantled. Your leadership will be taken into custody. This is your only warning." A moment of silence followed. Then something unprecedented happened. The entire Concordance fleet simply stopped. Not a single weapon powered up. Not one propulsion system engaged. The massive armada hung in space like a collection of frozen sculptures, their advanced systems seemingly paralyzed. Dr. Marcus Chen's voice came through the communication system. QRAN network at full deployment. Complete systemic infiltration achieved. What the Concordance didn't understand was that humanity's preparation had gone far beyond simple technological defense. The QRAN system was now actively rewriting the fundamental operational parameters of their entire fleet. Aboard the lead Concordance dreadnought, Captain Vexnar of the Zorian Collective stared in horror as his ship's systems began to respond to commands that hadn't been given. Navigation protocols were routed, weapon systems disabled, communication networks scrambled. "This is impossible," he muttered, his multi-jointed fingers frantically working control interfaces that now seemed to have a mind of their own. The human response was a masterpiece of strategic communication. Instead of a military broadcast, they sent something far more powerful, a comprehensive data package that laid bare the Concordance's centuries of manipulation, resource hoarding, and systematic suppression of developing species. Every ship, every communication hub, every defensive network received the transmission. It wasn't just an attack. It was a complete exposure of the Concordance's true nature. Diplomatic channels across the galaxy lit up. Species that had long been marginalized began to realize the extent of their collective oppression. The carefully maintained illusion of galactic harmony was crumbling in real time. "Tactical assessment," Alina commanded. Captain Queasy's response was measured. Complete control of the assault fleet, 0 casualties. Total systemic neutralization. The breaking point had arrived. Humanity hadn't just defended itself. It had fundamentally challenged the entire power structure of the galactic political system. A new galactic order. 3 standard galactic cycles after the neutralization of the Concordance fleet, the landscape of interstellar politics had been irrevocably transformed. The Grand Reconstruction Council convened on the neutral ground of Nexus Prime, a space station designed to be a testament to transparency and collaborative governance. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the massive circular chamber, many of whom had never before been granted a seat at such a high-level diplomatic gathering. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, no longer just a human ambassador, but a pivotal architect of a new galactic understanding. For centuries, she began, her voice carrying across translation matrices that captured not just her words, but the nuanced emotions behind them. The Concordance maintained a system of control masked as protection. What we've revealed is not just a failure of governance, but a systematic suppression of potential. The holographic displays behind her told a story more powerful than any speech. Centuries of resource hoarding, restricted technological development, and calculated marginalization of emerging species were laid bare in excruciatingly detailed records. Dr. Marcus Chen had ensured that every piece of data was verifiable, every claim substantiated. The QRAN technology had done more than neutralize military threats. It had become a tool of unprecedented transparency. Ambassador Krelax, stripped of his previous political power, sat in a designated observer zone. His once proud form now appeared diminished, a symbol of a system that had finally collapsed under the weight of its own corruption. Humanity proposes a new framework, Elena continued, not of control, but of collaborative development. Every species will have access to technological resources. Research will be open. Expansion will be governed by principles of mutual benefit, not restrictive embargoes. The proposal was radical. And yet, after the comprehensive exposure of the Concordance's manipulations, it was also the only path forward. Captain Aisha Queasy stood nearby, representing the strategic capabilities that had made this moment possible. The HMS Prometheus, now more a symbol than a mere vessel, was positioned as a backdrop, a reminder of the technological leap that had changed everything. "We are not seeking dominance," Aisha added. "We are seeking evolution." The quantum revelations had done more than challenge a political system. They had fundamentally rewritten the understanding of technological potential. Species that had been considered primitive were now recognized as having untapped capabilities. The Dream Confederacy, once opportunistic vultures of galactic politics, found themselves repositioned. Their previous strategies of manipulation were now transparently visible, forcing them into a more collaborative stance. Crystalline representatives, known for their rigid technological hierarchies, were forced to confront the reality that innovation could come from unexpected sources. As the discussions continued, it became clear that humanity's true victory was not military. It was philosophical. They had introduced a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization could conceptualize progress, cooperation, and potential. "This is not about human supremacy," Elena said in her closing remarks. "This is about collective advancement, about removing artificial barriers, about recognizing that every species has the right to grow, to develop, to explore." The chamber fell silent. The old systems had fallen. A new possibility had emerged, and humanity had been the catalyst. The quantum revolution was complete, but the real journey was just beginning.